In the world of AI, if you blink, you'll miss something huge. The whole landscape shifts so incredibly fast. Just when you think you've figured out who's on top, well, everything changes.
It's the question on everyone's mind, right? Is it OpenAI? Is it Anthropic? For a while there, it seemed like we had a clear answer. But as of this week, that answer just got a major update.
That's right, there is a new frontrunner. And believe me, it's a name you already know.
So, here's what happened. On Thursday, February 19th, 2026, Google dropped a new AI model that is already making some serious waves. It's got everyone's attention.
So let's meet the new contender, Gemini 3.1 Pro. Now, Google's saying it's currently in preview, but it's going to be rolling out to everyone really soon. So what's the big deal? What makes this release so special?
Well, first off, this is not just some minor little update. Gemini 3.1 Pro is a huge step up from what came before it, Gemini 3. And remember, that model only came out last November and was already considered super capable.
Okay, so making big claims is one thing, but you gotta have the proof, right? So how do we actually know this model is the new leader of the pack? Well, let's dig into the data.
So Google shared some stats from independent tests, benchmarks that are designed to measure these really advanced AI capabilities. One of them has this kind of intense name, Humanity's Last Exam. It's a test that's all about complex reasoning, and it showed Gemini 3.1 Pro just crushing the previous version.
And this chart just shows it perfectly. Look at that jump. On a key benchmark, the old version scored a 65. The new Gemini 3.1 Pro, it scored a 90. I mean, that is a massive leap in performance. It shows a truly dramatic improvement in just a few short months.
And hey, don't just take Google's word for it. This is what really caught my eye. This quote is from Brendan Foody. He's the CEO of an AI startup called Mercor. His company's whole thing is testing how well AI models can do real professional jobs. And he's confirming it. Gemini 3.1 Pro is #1 on their leaderboard.
So how does this all fit into the bigger picture? Well, this didn't just happen in a vacuum. This is the latest shot fired in what a lot of people are calling the AI model wars, this incredibly intense competition for AI supremacy.
And these are the heavyweights. You've got Google, OpenAI, Anthropic. They have all just recently released powerful new models. They are constantly pushing the boundaries, trying to one-up each other, and they're all racing toward the exact same goal. And it's really important to get this. They're not just building better chatbots. The real race is to perfect something called agentic work. So what is that? Basically, it's the AI's ability to handle complex, multi-step tasks that need actual reasoning to get to a goal. Like a digital assistant that can genuinely think for itself.
Okay, so all this technical competition is pretty fascinating, for sure. But what does it actually mean for us? In the real world. This is where we get to the heart of why all of this matters so much.
Remember that quote about real knowledge work? Well, here's the bottom line. These incredibly powerful models are being designed for complex reasoning, not just for answering simple questions. They're getting better and better at tasks that, honestly, until right now, you needed a human professional to do. And that just leaves us with this one huge question to think about. As these AI agents get more and more capable and as they get integrated into our lives, how are they going to fundamentally change our jobs, our industries, maybe even the very nature of work itself? That's the future that's coming, and it's getting here faster than any of us expected.
So today, we're digging into a pretty major move from one of the internet's biggest communities. Reddit is rolling out a new AI feature that honestly could totally change the way we discover and buy products online. Let's break down how Reddit is trying to turn everyday conversations into your own personal shopping mall.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You're trying to buy something, you're wading through page after page of reviews, and you're just sitting there wondering, is this real or did a bot write this? It is a huge headache for anyone just trying to find some genuine advice online.
Well, Reddit thinks it has the answer. It's tapping into its massive decade-plus archive of user conversations, which are, let's face it, some of the most brutally honest product discussions on the web, and using AI to connect you directly with the stuff people are actually talking about.
All right, so how exactly are they planning to pull this off? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of their new AI-powered shopping tool. So what this really boils down to is an AI that's trained to scan through all those Reddit discussions, find product mentions, and then wrap them up nicely in a shoppable little carousel for you. Now, for now, it's just a test. It's only being rolled out to a small group of users in the US. But believe me, this hints at a huge strategic shift for the company. Okay, so what does this actually look like for you, the user? Let's walk through the journey from a simple search to potentially a full shopping cart. And the idea here is to make it super seamless. You search for something, like best noise canceling headphones. The AI does its thing, scanning the relevant threads, and then boom, this interactive carousel of products just appears right there in your search results. You can tap on one to see more details, and if you like what you see, a link will take you straight to a retailer's site to buy it. Simple as that. And look, Reddit is being super upfront about their goal here. They've literally said the aim is to surface recommendations directly from discussions. So they're framing this not as another ad, but as a useful tool, a way for you to get instant, community-approved info on pretty much any product. All right, let's pivot a little and talk about the why behind all this. This isn't just some random feature they cooked up. Oh no, this is a seriously calculated move that fits into a much bigger business strategy. You see, this new AI tool is really the next logical step in Reddit's major push into e-commerce. It comes right on the heels of their dynamic product ads launch from last year, which really shows they're serious about finding new ways to make money by connecting users with products. And the timing on this, it is absolutely critical. Reddit is seeing a huge surge in search activity on its platform. We're talking a 30% jump in weekly active search users in just the past year. That tells you one thing. More and more people are using Reddit like a search engine to find answers. And what does that 30% jump actually look like? Well, it means they've leaped up to 80 million weekly searchers. That's a massive, super engaged audience that is actively looking for recommendations and doing their product research right there on the platform. But honestly, this next number is the real showstopper. The adoption of Reddit's other AI tools is just exploding. Their AI Answers feature has seen usage skyrocket by 1,400%. That's not just a trend. That is an absolute explosion. It's basically proof that Redditors are all in on these AI-powered solutions. And just so we're clear, this isn't some little side project. This strategy is coming straight from the top. The CEO, Steve Huffman, has basically called the AI search engine the next big thing for the business, and he sees it as a key driver of revenue down the line. So with all this momentum, Reddit isn't just tweaking its app. It's jumping headfirst into the pretty intense social commerce race. So the big question is, how does their approach stack up against everyone else? And this is really where you see Reddit trying to play a completely different game. Platforms like TikTok and Instagram, they rely on a top-down model. It's all driven by influencers and big brands. Reddit is betting on the complete opposite, a bottom-up approach, using AI to mine those authentic community conversations as the real source of truth. And it's not just the usual social media suspects in this race. The entire AI world is moving lightning fast. Just last year, OpenAI rolled out a checkout feature right inside ChatGPT, letting you buy stuff from places like Etsy and Shopify without ever leaving the chat. So yeah, the race to become your personal AI shopping assistant, it is officially on. Okay, so let's step back for a second. What does all of this really mean for the future of how we all shop online? When you boil it all down, this is the whole shebang. Reddit is sitting on what might just be the internet's biggest goldmine of authentic product recommendations. The massive challenge and the huge opportunity is figuring out how to make money from that content without destroying the very trust that makes it so valuable in the first place. I mean, get it wrong, and you could have an AI that thinks sarcastic comments are glowing reviews. It is an incredibly delicate balancing act. And that really leaves us with the big, critical question. Can an AI really sift through all the nuances of human conversation to build a truly authentic shopping experience? Or is this just destined to become a smarter, more sneaky form of advertising, the very thing we were trying to get away from? That, my friends, is the billion-dollar question that not just Reddit, but the entire internet is trying to answer right now. Fine-tuning your own AI used to be something that only giant tech companies with huge budgets could even dream of. But today, we're going to see how that's completely changed. We're diving into how you can train a custom language model way faster, way cheaper, and with a lot less hassle than you probably ever thought possible. So, does this sound familiar? You've got this amazing idea for a specialized AI, right? But then you start thinking about the hardware, the complexity, the sheer cost of it all, and it just feels completely out of reach. For most of us, that's always been a hard stop. Well, guess what? Things are changing, and fast. The old way meant you were stuck slogging through incredibly slow training times. You needed a massive amount of VRAM, and basically, you needed a supercomputer in your basement. But the new way? Oh, we're talking lightning-fast training, using just a fraction of the memory and running it all on affordable cloud GPUs you can rent by the hour. For years, developers and hobbyists have been staring at what you could call the AI training wall. It's this huge barrier built from sky-high costs and mind-numbing complexity that's kept so many incredible ideas locked away. It really has limited innovation for almost everyone. But what if we could just tear that wall down? This is where our solution comes into play. There are two key tools that are completely changing the game here. Unsloth, which is a brilliant optimization library, and Hugging Face Jobs, a platform for running training on cloud GPUs. And let me tell you, together, they create this powerful, super affordable pathway for building your own custom AI. So let's start with speed, and I mean real speed. Unsloth can train your models up to 2 times faster than the standard methods. It does this by using some really clever coding tricks that make your GPU work smarter, not just harder. And what does that mean for you? Less waiting around and way more time to actually iterate on your ideas. Okay, next up is memory savings. Unsloth literally slashes VRAM usage by about 60%. Now, this is a huge deal. Why? Because lower memory requirements mean you don't need the most expensive, top-of-the-line GPUs anymore. All of a sudden, a much wider range of affordable hardware becomes a totally viable option. And this right here, this is the ultimate payoff. When you combine double the speed with a massive drop in memory needs, the cost just plummets. We're not talking about fine-tuning a model for thousands or even hundreds of dollars. We're talking about doing it for just a few bucks. Seriously. Now, to really maximize these cost savings, you don't actually need some 70 billion parameter monster model. The smartest strategy a lot of the time is to start with a smaller, highly efficient model. A perfect example is something like Liquid AI's LFM 2.5 1.2b instruct model, which really punches way above its weight for its size. Look, smaller models aren't some kind of compromise. They're a strategic choice. They are way cheaper to train, which lets you experiment and iterate like crazy. And for specific focused tasks, they can be just as good, if not better, than the larger models. Best of all, a compact model like this runs in under a gigabyte of memory. That means it can be deployed directly on devices like phones and laptops. That's a game changer. Okay, you're probably thinking, it's cheap, but is it easy? Well, this is where it gets even better. You don't need to be some command line wizard to do this. You can kick off the entire training process just by talking to an AI assistant, using something called a coding agent. So what in the world are coding agents? It's really simple. Just think of them as your personal AI project manager. You describe your goal in plain English, like you're just talking to a coworker, and the agent translates that into all the necessary code, sets up the environment, and runs the whole job for you. The whole process really just breaks down into 3 super straightforward steps. First, you install the Hugging Face skill into your agent. Second, you write a simple prompt telling it which model and which dataset you want to use. And third, you just click the link it gives you to monitor the training job live. That's it. That's the whole thing. And when I say a simple prompt, I really mean it. Just look at this. This is a real-world example of a command you'd give the agent. You're just telling it what to do. You specify the dataset, and, this is the crucial part, you mention using Unsloth to unlock all those speed and memory benefits. It's incredibly direct. All right, so now it's your turn to build. We've established that this is fast, it's affordable, and it's surprisingly easy. So let's dive into the specific tools, the costs, and the tips you need to start building your first custom model like today. And here is the proof in the pudding. This table from Hugging Face Jobs shows you the approximate cost per hour. And just look at that top line. Training a model with under 1 billion parameters can cost as little as 40 cents an hour. 40 cents! Even a much larger 13 billion parameter model is only a few bucks an hour. This is what accessibility looks like. Now, to make sure your first training run is a total success, here are a few pro tips. Be really specific with your model and dataset names. Always, always remember to add using Unsloth. You can also ask the agent for a cost estimate right up front, and tell it to set up real-time monitoring so you can actually watch your model learn. And, just to remove that very last barrier to entry, the cost, the team behind all this is actually giving away free credits to get people started. All you have to do is join the Unsloth Jobs Explorers organization on Hugging Face, and you'll get credits to run your first training job completely free. No catch. So there you have it. The tools are here. They're more powerful and easier to use than ever before. The cost has been reduced to practically zero to get started. The only barrier left is your own imagination. So the real question now is, what will you build first?
Japan's entire digital economy is sitting on what you could call a potential gold mine. Today, we're going to dig into the AI revolution that's about to reshape the country and the one single massive roadblock that's been standing in the way. So let's just start with the big number. 100 trillion yen. To put that in perspective, that's over 650 billion US dollars. This is the absolutely staggering value that experts predict AI could unleash for Japan, a number so huge it could define a whole new era of economic growth.
But, of course, there's a catch. That entire 100 trillion yen promise is, right now, hitting a brick wall. A single, really critical problem is holding this whole revolution back.
So what is it? What is this huge roadblock? What could possibly be preventing Japan from jumping on this incredible opportunity?
Well, it's a problem we're calling the data wall. You see, AI models are incredibly hungry for data, but there's this chronic shortage of high-quality training material that is specific to the Japanese language and culture. While AI models in English get to feast on this massive buffet of data, Japan's own innovation has basically been starved, slowing progress down to a crawl.
But what if you didn't have to go out and find more data? What if you could just create it? That is the incredible idea behind a synthetic breakthrough, and it's being pioneered by the IT giant NTT Data. Okay, so what exactly is synthetic data? Think of it like a perfect digital imitation. It's completely artificial, but it's generated to mirror all the patterns and statistical details of real-world information. Now, here's the crucial part. It contains absolutely no personal or sensitive data. None. That makes it completely private and totally safe to use for training AI.
So NTT Data decided to put this whole concept to the test. Their goal was simple: improve an AI that was designed for legal Q&A. They started with their own base model, and they used an open-source toolset from NVIDIA. Now here's where the magic happens. They took just 450 original data points, that's it, and synthetically blew them up into a massive, high-quality dataset of over 138,000 samples.
And the result of this experiment? It wasn't just a small improvement, it was a gigantic leap forward. Honestly, the numbers here are pretty astonishing. Just take a look at these numbers. The baseline model, with no specialized training, had an accuracy of just 15.3%. Pretty bad. But after they fine-tuned it with those 138,000 synthetic data points, its accuracy skyrocketed to 79.3%. That is a mind-boggling jump of over 64 percentage points.
This chart really puts that jump into perspective. I mean, on the left, you've got a barely functional AI. On the right, after training on synthetic data, you have a highly competent, really accurate model. This wasn't just some minor tweak, it was a complete transformation. And you know what? It gets even better. The training didn't just boost the accuracy, it also cured the model of hallucinations. You know, that thing where an AI generates answers that sound plausible but are just factually wrong. Well, after the fine-tuning, it was able to pull out the correct legal terms accurately, without just making stuff up.
So this massive accuracy boost was obviously the main goal, but the experiment also revealed some unexpected side effects. You could almost call them superpowers. Usually, when you want to add new knowledge to an AI, you have to do something called continuous pre-training. It's like re-educating the entire model from the ground up, and it's incredibly expensive and slow. But NTT Data found that with enough high-quality synthetic data, they could often just skip that whole step and go straight to supervised fine-tuning. That's more like giving the model targeted lessons, which is way cheaper and a whole lot faster. This technique also solves another huge problem in the industry. As you can see here, an estimated 90% of all valuable enterprise data just sits there. It's completely unused. It's all locked away because of privacy regulations, security risks, licensing issues. It's basically a digital treasure chest that no one can open.
Synthetic data is the key to that lock. Because it reflects the patterns of the real data without containing any of the sensitive info, it lets companies finally tap into that 90%. They can train powerful AI models on the patterns from their data without ever exposing the data itself. It's truly privacy by design.
So how does a solution for one company become a strategy for an entire nation? Well, this is where the whole idea scales up, moving from a single experiment to becoming the foundation for Japan's very own AI future.
As Shinya Higuchi from NTT Data explains, the potential here goes way beyond just legal AI.
He says this approach can improve results in areas like market research, customer support, and marketing, where proprietary data is often scarce. It's basically a way to build specialized models even when you have very little to start with.
And this leads us to this really crucial concept of sovereign AI. This just means building AI systems that are controlled by a nation and trained on data that truly reflects its unique culture, its language, and its social norms. It's about creating an AI that understands Japan rather than just relying on models trained mostly on Western data.
The grand vision here is to create a national data space. Imagine a collaborative ecosystem where the government and private companies can all safely share the patterns from their data as synthetic datasets. This would fuel a powerful, uniquely Japanese AI, and it would challenge the idea that the future only belongs to a few giant global models.
So what's the single most important thing to take away from Japan's AI breakthrough?
It's this: the data wall isn't permanent. It can be smashed. And the tools to do it, like the ones used in this study, are open source and available right now. This is not science fiction. It's a practical solution for today's developers. And this all leaves us with a fascinating question for the future. Is AI going to be dominated by just a handful of massive global models? Or are we going to see a vibrant world with many sovereign interconnected AI systems, where each one is an expert in its own local culture and context? Japan's breakthrough suggests that second option is not only possible, but it might already be beginning.